Hey guys, this is Mike. I want to make this real quick. I've done this video a couple times and it's just been too long each time, so I'm going to run through this real quick. This is my 2008 Suzuki Boulevard M109 that I've been converting to a full bagger. It's been converted to a bagger for a while. I've changed some things. If you guys have been following me, you've seen what's been changed since I've had this bike. So real quick, this is the front and rear air suspension that I've done on this bike. The air suspension for the front is totally unique. You won't find it available on the market. The rear air suspension, this is a tricky air suspension for the rear. It'll set you back about $1,000. But I am running a Vier 97C compressor. I'm not using the stock compressor that came with the kit because I burnt it up over a period of time. It wasn't worth rebuilding. It was cheaper just to replace it. So I went with a Vier, something that I could rebuild with very cheap parts, OEM replacement parts, if it came down to it. So what I've got here, this is the right side of the motorcycle. This is the front air suspension setup that you see here. And on the left side, this is the rear, okay? Don't worry about the gauge. It's just temporarily so I can monitor the system, see if my pressure is cutting off where it's supposed to be. The air is cutting off where it's supposed to be and cutting back on, and just another way I'm watching for any leaks, even though I have used Windex on all my fittings to make sure there's no leaks, and I'm good. So come over here because it's a bit more cleaner. This is, and you've seen this in another video, a 24-ounce Paintball Air Tank that I bought off eBay, about 25 bucks probably. I unscrewed the fitting out of the end, and I had these custom aluminum collars machined to fit down into the neck of that bottle and then get welded, so make sure there's no leaks. This is all the brass that you see as 1/4 inch MPT fittings. You can pick it up at any Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, places like that, okay? So what else you'll notice is I've got 2 air valves, one for up, one for down. I've got an speed control and exhaust silencer right there. So when it comes down, it goes. When it comes down, it's not really loud. It's nice and quiet. All my wiring is color coded, so I know what I'm looking at if something goes wrong. Basically, this setup over here is the same thing. I'll tell you this, since this has the most pieces over here. The air tanks, I spent about 25 bucks a piece. These are 3-inch exhaust clamps that I bought from Advanced Auto Parts. They're about 4 bucks a piece. The air manifold was about 8 bucks. This is a 6 or 7 port air manifold. There's 4 on the front, 1 on each end, and then 1 on the back, which is plugged because it's up against the bag. The air valves, these guys right there, are a 3-way 1/4 inch air valve. You get them on eBay for about, I want to say 25 bucks. You get them from cheaper from China if you want to wait to get them. I didn't want to wait. I'm trying to get this shit done. So you get them a little bit cheaper if you want to do it that way. All my air fittings, these guys, not there, but yeah, these guys here and like here. A lot of these are swivels. I try to stick to all metal connectors, but sometimes I just use these plastic ones. I will see how they hold up over a period of time. I probably got around 30-40 bucks in air fittings, but I typically buy them in a bulk pack of 10. Some of them will be 90s, some of them will be straights, like these guys here. So it just really depends on which ones I've got. This speed valves and silencers, I think I bought like a pack of 3 for like maybe 10 bucks. Miscellaneous connectors, the wire right there you can see is the air cutoff. Cuts on at 120 psi, cuts off at 150. All this is 1/4 inch. I think I got maybe 10-12 bucks on that guy there. What else? I think that covers it. Basically, I'll give you a rundown real quick. So air comes from the compressor, which is up under my batteries. I'll show you that here in a moment, and how I'll end up mounting that permanently. But air is going to come in here into the manifold, fill up this bottle, This guy here is going to go out of the manifold and feed this bottle and fill it up. But there is coming out, if you can see it right here, there's a 1/4 inch fitting going into a brass T with 2 swivels, 2 90s if you will. And so one is my inlet from my other tank and manifold to help fill up this bottle, and then coming out goes into this set of air valves. So this is the valve to go up, and that's the valve to go down. Alright, so pretty much the same thing over here. One goes up, one goes down. We talked about in manifold, out manifold. Basically this piece here will get capped off or plugged later once I make sure I'm good with no leaks. This gauge will get relocated, not this gauge, but I got gauges going to go up front in the fairing to give me my my static pressure for my tanks, and then my pressure for my air suspension front and rear. And basically out of this port here we've got coming in to the air valves here for my rear air suspension. This guy here goes back up and goes down to my rear air suspension. Excuse me, I had to think about that for a second. This one coming out here, which I didn't discuss, goes all the way up to the front of the bike where the front air suspension is. Okay, so as it is right now, this is just a liquid filled gauge. I'm hovering just over like 100 and maybe 25 psi. Okay, so I'll give you guys a quick show of how fast it lets down and up, how quiet it is. Let's see if I get this to work. Okay, and up. So simple as that. Those gauges are eventually going to be right here. I've got all on switches. I've got actually a custom plate switch that I'm going to be putting up there with several different things. I'm not going to be running a double DIN in this unit, which is, you know, what is supposed to be there. I'm actually going to be running everything off of a tablet. So compressor, show you this real quick. This is the compressor, the Vier 97C. I've got foam wrapped around the motor and it's stuffed in here. This is just so it doesn't vibrate and bounce around, but I'm actually making a plate out of some sheet metal, which is going to mount here and go across these head bolts, so that it will be slightly suspended like this and won't be touching anything, so it won't vibrate or make any noise. Not sure that I can pull it out. Maybe I can. To carry the amp load, which, by the way, we're talking about, you know, up here there's gonna be some waterproof switches. One of those is gonna be the master switch to turn off the compressor. I actually cut off the power to the air shutoff switch on the tank, so that when it gets too high or too low, it won't cut on. I don't know if you can kind of see this here. These are all using insulated spade female connectors. Let me tuck this back up in here. But this basically carries, and I'm using a Moto battery. I've got 2 of these guys. I've got a dual battery tray, which this is eventually going to come out. Those batteries sit like this, 2 of them. So that's going to go back in at some point. But running, man, what is that, 12 gauge maybe? To the compressor, which is bigger than what came with the compressor originally. So I'm not going to have any overheating of the wire. But basically, this goes to my relay. What is it? Pins 86. Damn, I have to look at it. Pins 85 is ground. 86 is the hot side of my air switch. The other side of my air switch goes to my switch up here, and then the other side of that switch goes to a 12-volt power source. So when I push the switch up here, it's going to turn power on all the way down the bike to the air switch down there, which comes all the way back up here to this relay. And if that pressure is low and that switch energizes, then it's going to shoot 12 volts to the coil on that relay, which is pins 85 and 86. It's going to turn that relay on. It's going to close my contacts, this wire here from the battery goes to pin 30, and then from my compressor, I got one wire going to ground, of course, on my compressor. The other wire from the compressor, the hot wire, goes to pin 87. So that is a full breakdown of how you wire a relay to carry the amp load for the compressor. Alright, so if you guys are trying to mimic what I'm doing, that'll give you an idea of what to do it. If you need me to write it down, put it on a drawing, send it to you or whatnot, let me know. But this is pretty simple, okay? But again, this guy's just going to tuck up in here. It's going to be bolted here, so it's going to be suspended a little bit. It won't make any rattling noise, which is what it has done in the past, because it'll typically vibrate and it'll turn, and you hear that right there. So imagine that when this damn thing's running. It's just annoying. So that's the setup there. Dual batteries. I got a high output stator going in. Switches up front. In fact, I'll show you what I was working on, but I'm getting ready to redo it because I did some changes. So this was pretty much this switch panel that I was going to use. All right. So 4 waterproof switches, one for the compressor, one for the LEDs, one for my secondary amplifier, which I'm not going to be running all the time. Don't remember what that one's for. I don't know. Sue me. I'll remember it later. The air switches up and down would be these guys here. This is going to be my Bluetooth audio control. There's a big switch that goes there, so wet sounds, I think it is, goes there. This is going to be a piece that plugs in that's going to carry the 12 volts for any accessory as well as phone charging. So that's going to go there. What I'm going to change though is I'm in the process of waterproofing this EQ. You guys seen that in another video. So all this is going to get condensed a little bit and shortened. And then the EQ is actually going to go in the bottom of this once I make sure it's waterproofed. So that way it's going to go up there where it's going to be hands able to get to my hands, not in the bag. So I'm trying to keep everything out of the bags as much as possible. So that'll give you guys an idea of how everything's going to be set up. This course will get redone to make room for that EQ. It's going to be painted white to match everything else. And we're going to keep rocking and rolling with it. So lots of shit going on. Just stay tuned, and we'll be back on the next video.